Welcome to this week's episode of the Baseball Together podcast, Baseball Family. This week we have a CBA update, a couple of manager hirings, and Baseball Santa right now.
Nine Plus Us presents the Baseball Together podcast with your hosts, Blackjack Brad and Kansas City Little Big Briggy Blue Eyes. And now, Baseball Together.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Baseball Together podcast, Baseball Family, and a Merry Christmas to you. I am Brad, and again this week I am joined by our guy Jewell, wearing, is that a wreath with peace and joy?
It is. Peace and joy, Baseball Family. Peace and joy, and happy holidays to you all.
Very good. We love it. All right. This week we have some stuff to get into. I'm surprised. Like, I was expecting to just go straight into Baseball Santa this week, Jewell. I'm going to be honest with you.
I was too until yesterday when we finally got something to talk about today.
I know. It's like there's just like a news dump. It's like, oh, here's some stuff for you guys. There we go. So we have some stuff to talk about. We have a small and brief CBA update that might actually go into a little bit further conversation. But here we go. The MLB and MLB PA both came out and said that they will not be discussing economics until January. Now, hearing that to me is it's pretty upsetting. It's like, are you serious right now? But Jewell and I were actually talking before we came on about some of the other topics. Like, there are plenty of other things for them to talk about, and I hadn't thought about this until then. I mean, there are things like PEDs, drug testing. What are some other ones, Jewell?
There's going to be like the PED policies, the drug policy, domestic violence policies. There's
I'm sure there's going to be a illegal sign stealing policy.
Yeah, there's
that doesn't just punish the
sign
managers.
stealings. There's on top of that, there's like, I just had it.
But I mean, there's plenty there, right? So
yeah,
I feel
domestic
like
violence. There's
so basically personal conduct policy.
Scheduling for like double headers and COVID and
playoffs. They could talk a lot about the playoffs because that's a hot button topic. DH, plenty to talk about.
All of these are non-economic issues.
Right. So there are plenty of discussions to be had before they go into anything economic in January. But my first thought was like, obviously, that I was upset about this. I was like, are they not doing anything? Because obviously the economics are the hot button topics, the big things that we've been talking about. But on the other hand, though, I kind of had a thought about it. This might have been yesterday, 2 days ago, where it was like, that could be fine because the two sides could really be hammering out their proposals. Saying, this is our A proposal. If everything went perfectly, this is what we would have. This is our B proposal. This is where we're willing to compromise. If we really have to go deep into compromise, we can go C, D, or even E proposals to make negotiations go a whole lot faster because I know the owners don't want to. I'm sure the owners don't want to miss out on spring training money just because it's there. The players don't want to miss out on spring training because it leads to injury. And then they're missing game checks, right? If they're not playing, they're not getting paid their full amount. They're not able to hit their incentives and things like that. So the players want to play as soon as possible. The owners want to get the players back on the field as soon as possible so they can start to make money. But that being said, there are plenty of other things, like we said, to hash out before they get to economics.
Yeah, and if they're able to hash out all this non-economic stuff between now and some point in January, so let's say a month from now, a month from last Thursday, the 16th, and January 16th, if they're able to hash out all the core non-economic stuff, because I guess that Manfred and the MLB PA lead negotiator, Bruce Meyer, have been negotiating and express a willingness to negotiate around non-core economic stuff. This is according to Drellich. Neither side has initiated any talks about economics, but they are talking about all these non-core economic stuff, which helps kind of see kind of what both sides are going to offer. Who's going to be more willing at what, who's going to take more, who's going to need more. Kind of helps them figure out their negotiation strategy. So then, like we just said, they can go from A to B to C to D to E and so on because they can know what to expect so far in these early negotiations. So I think it's a really, really good thing to get these non-economic things done because then those things are done. They've agreed on them. The terms are, said, okay, this is done, this is done, this is done, this is done. Check, 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 check.
Mm-hmm.
Let's save the biggest, most contentious issue for last. That way we
Yeah.
can give it 100% focus. And if it comes down to a crunch, we're not trying to check all these other boxes. This is our one
Right.
box to check. So I think it's a great, great thing and a big step in the right direction.
Well, I think it'd be a good thing too to like have have an agreement on those other items, kind of the secondary, tertiary items that aren't economic, because then they can't get to the economic stuff in January and be like, well, now hold on, if we give you this, let's take away this. Like, no, 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 we have this already agreed upon.
Yeah,
These are
exactly.
done, they're taken care of, so they can't use them as bargaining chips later on in the negotiations. That stuff they can get it set and then deal with the elephant in the room. I'm hoping that helps to speed things up, that we do have baseball in February, March, rather than waiting until February, March of 2023, like we
Yeah,
were
no,
worried about.
I hope so, and I think it's a good step. I think they definitely get a deal done before spring training games.
It feels
Um,
like it now. Yeah.
it feels like they have a kind of a roadmap on what they're expecting and how they're going to negotiate. You know, and they have a time frame. Like they might not have publicly announced a date. Like we're going to start talks on this date, but we know that they're going to be talking it in January, which is a month before pitchers and catchers. So it's like they have a 2 month time frame. Like they're giving non-economic a month, then they're going to give economics a month, and
Hmm.
then boom, right before pitchers or catchers, everyone will sign on the dotted line and be happy, and then pitchers or catchers will be at camp, and we'll all be happy fans.
Exactly. And it literally takes 24 hours from the time that everything is signed for everybody to get to where they need to be. We've seen it with the NBA, we've seen it with the NFL in the last decade. That
Yep,
these
there's
things,
plenty of
once the
jets.
ball
There's
gets
plenty of private
rolling, it
jets.
doesn't stop. Exactly. Plenty of
No,
PJs
there's
to go
plenty
around.
of private jets, and I'm sure that they'll already have spring training facilities locked and loaded with gloves and bats and balls and equipment, and I'm pretty sure those will be loaded up come like February 1st. Like they'll be
Honestly,
ready.
I feel like a lot of guys live near their spring training facilities anyway because they're in desirable places. Like I know that Kyle Seager, his family lives in the Phoenix area. And I think Trevor Bauer has a house around here too, where he is. He might be in LA, and then like as things start to get close, he hops on a plane and comes out to. I think he's in Pleasant Valley. And then he's like, I can get to the spring training facility tomorrow, no problem. Hop in the McLaren and I'm there. But anyway, all right, enough of the CBA. I feel like we're heading in a positive direction with that. Let's talk about some other news that came out this week. The Tigers offered Carlos Correa 10 years, 275 million dollars. For those of you who would like the math, that's a $27.5 million annual average value. And he turned it down. My question for you, Joel, first, before we get too deep into this, are you surprised he turned that down?
No, actually, because who's the manager in Detroit?
AJ Hinch.
And who probably wants to distance himself from everything Astros, sign stealing, as far as possible?
Yeah, he
Carlos
does.
Correa. He wants to distance everything from his name, from Astros, AJ Hinch, Carlos Beltran, everyone involved in that. He wants to distance himself. He is looking for a 100% clean, fresh start. So I am not
Hmm.
surprised at all that he turned this down. Also,
And
they had
I
an
hadn't.
offer out to Baez, and they signed Baez, which I think is a really, really good fit for them,
I
honestly.
agree. And you know what? It's funny because I hadn't even thought about that side of it, about the AJ Hinch aspect. My thought was, of course not. He's wanting at least 30 million a year. He's wanting at least 300 million over 10 years. And if not, looking for 350 or more for 12 to 13 years, because he's young enough that he could get a 13-year deal, and it would kind of make sense, especially with a universal DH, that he could go anywhere in the league and he can still have a career when he's 37, 38, 39 years old, and he's lost a step or two at shortstop. Maybe he's moved to third base and is a part-time DH.
Yeah, no, I think so, and I think that honestly, he's waiting to see. I think he's really true to it. That he's waiting to see how the CBA unfolds once the
Hmm.
lockout ends, kind of how the spending, because you know that teams are. There's more than likely going to be some kind of salary floor, salary cap.
Yeah.
More than likely a salary floor. I think that's the direction that we both know that MLB's heading with the luxury tax still in place.
Hmm.
And I think he's honestly waiting to feel it out because I think he would want to take a big old bag of money from New York, but maybe New York can't offer that kind of money because they re-signed Aaron Judge.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, they take care of, who do they value more? Aaron Judge, a fan favorite, gets fans in the seats, or do they go after Carlos Correa when they still have some other in-house options they can use? So I think New York's still a good fit, but I still am sold on the Brewers or the Phillies, honestly.
Mm, very interesting choices. We're gonna get into teaser. We're gonna get into him a little bit later. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. And then we had some news come out about the Giants. Apparently, the Giants say they don't want to pay 9 figures for free agents.
I'm calling all kinds of cap on this. All kinds of cap. There's no
Okay.
way whatsoever that the Giants will not pay for 9 figures. They paid Buster Posey 9 figures. They paid Brandon Belt almost 20 mil on the qualifying offer. They paid. They've made these kind of investments before. Granted, they haven't always worked out. Johnny Cueto wasn't a huge success,
He's good enough,
so
though.
he was good enough. Yeah, at times, but they have the money, they have the fan base, they have plenty of supporting talent that if they want to, they will. And I think it's also one of those situations, much like Carlos Correa, but from a team level, where they gotta feel it out.
Yeah. Well, and one thing too is that they already have. I mean, they have Brandon Crawford, who's 34. If they're going to want to pay anybody, I'm sure they're going to want to pay him.
They already extended him during the season.
Did they? That's
Yeah,
right. You're right. Yeah, I
yeah.
was I was in the process of looking up his salary because I don't know exactly what it was, but I do remember. That's right. Now that you mentioned, I do remember them extending him, and they have him through
I want to say it was a 3-year deal.
2023, but they're only paying
Two
him
year,
15 a year.
2 year, 32 mil.
They're only paying him about 15 to 16 mil a year. So I mean that's not outrageous, but I
Hmm.
I don't know. I could see them being like, we're having success with what we're doing.
Yeah,
Um, I feel like they probably feel like their core is sufficient, and basically what I feel like it is they don't feel like they need to bring in a flashy free agent that they could trade for somebody, trade for an impact player at the trade deadline, and not put out the 9 figure deal during free agency because it's kind of what they did with Chris Bryant.
yeah, exactly.
So
And that's what I was gonna say. I don't think they. I think you're right. I don't think they need to do it. I don't think there's a want or a desire to do it. And if they don't, they have pitching. They have the pitching. They have, and they have a great pitching
yeah,
system headed by well, they don't have Gosman anymore, but they have Dave Sclafani, Alex Cobb, Alex Wood. They have
hmm
guys. They have the team. They still have the same manager. They still have the
they
same
still have their
system in
same
place.
core. I feel like they're pretty well set. They're going to be all right. They do maybe need a little bit of youth in there because I'm looking at their roster from last year, and Steven Duggar was their
Oh,
youngest player
it's
at
old.
27. They're a
Yeah,
bunch
they're
of old
old.
dudes.
Yeah, and I think that their
And I
money's
say
better well
that
spent at replenishing the rotation.
I say that, and I'm the only guy who on that roster who's my age is Evan Longoria. Everybody else is younger than
I
me.
forgot about Evan Longoria. He used to be so good.
He did, and he didn't have a bad year. He didn't have a bad year. He 833 OPS, but
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
it's
just
not an Evan Longoria year of even 5 years ago. So
no. And I think they
I don't know.
go. No, I think that the Giants are better spending their money on like a Carlos Rodon or Tyler
Yeah.
Anderson or a um that one St. Louis pitcher Hung Wei Kim,
Okay.
who's like really freaking good and would fit their system really well.
Yeah. I don't know. It'll be something that's interesting to keep track of, though. I mean, it's like I don't remember I talked about this with you, but it was actually we were talking about earlier today about how they were talking all that trash on Chris Bryant, saying that his swing's not going to age well and he's got a below average glove. And I maintain that this is like a guy who broke up with a girl who's a 9 trying to convince himself that she's a 6.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. No, I remember. Yeah,
Just to make himself feel better. But at the same time, are they trying to drive down the market for Chris Bryant? I don't think they will, because of who his agent is and because of what everybody else has seen and who wants him.
Yeah,
So,
and we've seen him play 7 positions on the field. No,
yeah.
8. No, 7.
I think 7.
We haven't seen him pitch yet. We probably will at some point.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him pitch at some point, but we saw Anthony Rizzo pitch. But anyway, so over the last couple of years, we have seen some realignment in minor league baseball, some major changes, some teams that were dropped from the minor league system, some teams that were brought in and adapted. I always talk about the St. Paul Saints, and you've got the Sugarland Skeeters, who were brought in from independent ball to be a minor league baseball affiliate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 4 teams that used to be affiliated with minor league baseball are suing Major League Baseball because they were dropped. We had the Staten Island Yankees, the Tri-City Valley Cats, the Norwich Sea Unicorns, fantastic name by the way, and the
Really
Salem Kaiser Volcanoes. Jewell, my question for you, do these teams have a legitimate gripe with Major League Baseball?
I think they do and they don't. I think that everyone kind of they kind of knew it was coming, so they had the chance to, realign. They've had a chance to, plead their case, negotiate. There's a reason that the St. Paul team got picked up. The Saints got picked up. Because they're geographically convenient for their teams, which is a big part of what 2020 made them do. It made them think, okay, I need to get more geographically in line, it doesn't make sense why the Mariners still have a team down in, Double-A Arkansas, right?
Yeah.
When
weird. I don't know.
They could buy out the Tri-City Washington Dust Devils, who belong to the Angels. There's still room for teams to buy out other teams and whatnot, but I think geographically, these teams really didn't make sense to anyone to keep.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to. And we talked to guys with the Pioneer League earlier this year, and they weren't necessarily blindsided by it from what it sounded like. And they were low level rookie. I think that anybody who was a rookie league was like, yeah, we don't stand a chance.
Mm-hmm.
We're all gonna go away. And they saw it as a glass half full kind of situation. They were able to go in and do their own thing. They've done away with extra innings completely.
Yeah.
They're changing the game of baseball in a way that they feel like is more profitable to them and their teams, so that they can run but also so they can kind of have forward thinking with baseball. Forward thinking baseball, I think the first thing we think of is the Savannah Bananas with banana ball, right? Where you win an inning or whatever, you win 5 or something like that. And so I feel like these are teams that felt like they were blindsided by it, but in reality, the writing was
that change.
The writing was on the wall, though.
Yeah, it was. It's
and
okay,
the Staten Island Yankees. The Staten Island Yankees, they still get to use the Yankees name, from what it seems like. The Yankees haven't been like, you're no longer affiliated with us, we take the name with us. That doesn't seem like that's something that has happened, that they've managed to keep that team name, and they're fine, which goes a long way toward branding for them, which is a really important piece. If they had to lose that name too, I could feel like they had a little bit more of a gripe. But the only thing that's changing is the pipeline money that's coming in from Major League Baseball. But they've got it's business, man.
Yeah.
Gotta learn to adjust.
It's kind of similar. The Savannah Bananas kind of make you think of arena football.
Yeah.
Where it's
a little bit,
or kind of like the Globetrotters a little bit, where it's just Globetrotters are more entertainment, but more like the arena football, where it's
the Bananas are too. It's collegiate. It's collegiate wood bat. It's entertainment. It's not. They're not playing for anything really.
No, they're just playing
other than getting some reps.
get some reps, make money, and maybe one of them, hits 800 and gets a shot.
Yeah. But no, I don't feel like any of these teams have a legitimate gripe with it, though. That it's like
No.
the writing was on the wall. You had time to prepare, and Major League Baseball was like, they probably sent a memo that they didn't check their mail that day or something like that, or ended up in their junk. I don't know. Anyway, I thought it was interesting, and it is definitely something that we're going to keep track of, though, that we're going to follow, because there was wind. I don't even know if wind, but whisperings of this about a year or so ago that some teams were going to try to file a lawsuit against Major League Baseball. So, like I said, we'll keep an eye on it and have an update for you as they come in. Now, just because the CBA there is no CBA, so there's no baseball, doesn't mean that teams can't hire managers because they're not part of the Players Association. The Mets finally hired a manager, and they hired Mr. Buck Showalter.
Overall, good hire. I mean, kind of said it wasn't me. I didn't even get an interview.
How dare they?
Tried. I know, exactly. I was just kind of flabbergasted. But no, it's exactly who the players wanted. The players got a manager that they wanted. Scherzer, this is who he wanted. If you're paying some guy $40 million, you're gonna listen to who he wants coming in to manage the team. No, I think Showalter's a great fit. I think put this level of talent in front of him, he can put a winning team together. So.
Well, and if you go back to the 90s and you look at the Showalter track record, all they have to do is keep him around for a few years, and then if they don't get to the World Series or get results from him, they fire him, then they'll get to the World Series the next year.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that how that works?
Basically, yeah,
Right?
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's a good fit, though. He does a great job everywhere he goes. Guys seem to like him. And the thing that's funny is that, like, he's an old school guy, and a lot of old school guys seem to have trouble in baseball right now. But at the same time, he seems like somebody who could kind of be a hybrid, right? And be like,
kind of like a
I
LaRussa a
have,
little bit.
I don't know. I don't even know if Tony La Russa would be a hybrid, because he just seems like a
Mattingly?
crotchety old man. Mattingly. Yes, I could see him being more of a Mattingly. Yeah, definitely. But anyway, all around good hire. The A's today made their hire. They hired Mark
fired up about
Kotze.
this.
Are you?
Absolutely fired up about it.
I thought it was cool they hired internally, because this last year he was the third base coach, but previously he has been the bench coach. Typically those guys have a little bit more of a role than, I guess, the third base coach, and so he's kind of seen what needs to happen there. I don't know. I thought it was a good hire, though. Hire internally a guy who knows what you're doing, knows what you're working with, right?
Yep, and a guy who was a fan favorite in Oakland for the prime of his career as well.
Mm-hmm.
He spent 2004, 5, 6, 7.
Well, those were good years. Those were good years for the A's.
Yep, he was an MVP candidate in 2004. He put together some great seasons. He, was overall, best season was in Oakland in 2005 of his career. Like, he was a fan favorite there. I love it. A former player, internal to replace, honestly,
Bob
one
Melvin
of the
after
best managers of all time, and Bob Melvin with what he did.
You think
with the
he's really
A's
that
for
high
so
up
many years.
of all time?
He's up there. He's up there. I mean, the things he did with the Oakland A's team for years after years, 2012, 13, 14, those improbable playoff runs. He was there.
I mean, I give him the status of a great manager, but I don't know if I put him up there with all time.
I don't
Just
know.
because of what he did or didn't do in Seattle. But no, I like Bob Melvin, though. And for them to bring in Kotze to replace him, I think it's a good move. I think they're going to do well with him there. I think it'll be a great fit. He understands the culture as a player and as a coach on the staff, and I think he'll he'll be able to continue to implement what they want to do there into the clubhouse, and I think he'll immediately have the trust of the players. I think they're going to love him there, and I think they're going to play hard for him, regardless of whether they keep the band together or they break it up. I don't know, but anyway.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. And no matter what, I think it's smart for Bean to keep a guy in who knows the system, who understands kind of the goals and the philosophies, and can keep it going. Because Bean's going to be out in the next couple of years because he's invested in that Boston ownership group that has major stakes and all over the place. And right now, he's kind of not really taking a huge role. They want him to take a big role, but at the same time, he would have to leave the A's, and he doesn't really want to do that. So I think it's just one of those things that Kotsay could be lining up to be more. This is just his next step.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great spot for him. But with that, let's go ahead and take a break. When we get back, we're going to get into our wish lists for Baseball Santa.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I never get back with me. Root, root, root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Shop kids' baseball shirts at 9pluss.com.
Welcome back, baseball family, to the Baseball Together podcast, where this week we have one of my favorite segments. This is one of my favorite things that we do all year, Jewel. I love Baseball Santa. I look forward to it all year long. Although I will say this,
doing it with you.
I don't prepare all year long. I just look forward to doing it. I don't prepare.
I did not. I prepared this last night at about 1 in the morning.
Very good. I look forward to it because I know that
other content.
I look forward to it because I know that a lot of things I do at 1 in the morning, not good content, but I'm sure it'll be great content, Jewel. I'm looking forward to it.
Wow, you don't want to know how many of my blog pieces have been written at 1 a.m.
That's awesome. There's a certain point. Great. So like real quick. So I worked overnights throwing freight for a grocery store when I was an intern for the Orem Owls, the Angels rookie league team.
Oh no way! When I first started the blog, I worked at Walmart as an overnight assistant manager.
There you go. So yeah, you know how it works. So I'm sure this story is going to be relatable. So I was getting ready to start a podcast because I was in college and I was doing I was getting ready to start a podcast for the sports section for the student newspaper. And so I spent a lot of nights thinking about what I wanted to do. I basically storyboarded the entire season, how I wanted to do it all. And I would come up with ideas, and it was usually about 2:00 in the morning when I was starting to get tired. And I would come up with ideas, and then the next morning on my way home to kind of keep myself awake, I'd hash out those ideas that I came up with the night before. And I could always tell when I came up with an idea at 2:00 in the morning because it was terrible. Just a horrible idea. And so I'd start calling those 2 a.m. ideas. And then I've recently changed those to Costanzas just because George Costanza never has a good idea, right? So anyway.
Yeah,
so
it's like the famous saying from How I Met Your Mother, nothing good ever happens after 2 a.m.
Exactly. That's exactly right. That's right. So 2 a.m. ideas, and that's why I say that, is that as I've gotten older, it's gotten to be closer to 1 and midnight. But anyway. All right. So, Jewel, do you want to lead us off with your first wish list item for Baseball Santa?
Okay, these are in no particular order for mine. They're just the order that they came to me in. My first wish list item for Baseball Santa is the Seattle Mariners land either Chris Bryant or Seiya Suzuki, preferably Seiya Suzuki, so that we can keep the legacy of Suzuki's in Seattle strong.
Very good. I like that. And I would actually like to see either one of those guys, if not both of them, come to Seattle. Seiya Suzuki, I am like pumped for that guy. And I saw something yesterday that said that the Mariners have entered the sweepstakes for Seiya Suzuki. I'm like, dude, where have you been?
Right?
Like, been in this thing the entire time. For anybody to say that they're just now showing interest in him
No,
has
he's
not
been
been
there
paying
the whole time.
attention.
No, and
Yeah.
obviously, we talked about this last week, just how much Japanese players have a connection with Seattle and how much
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because there's an ownership stake in Nintendo, there's just the culture, the West Coast,
Geographically.
geographically it all makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It all just makes
Yeah. No, I think it would be a great situation for him. And I think that's part of the reason Ohtani was looking at Seattle too, and why Kikuchi came.
Yeah, it was Otani's second choice. I'm pretty sure Tanaka, it was a top 3. I'm pretty sure that, obviously Kikuchi, Iwakuma,
Iwakuma, yeah. Had
Haseon
Kenji Jojima as well.
Kenji Jojima, Kazuhiro Sasaki,
Yes. Kaz. Oh my gosh, I
Ichiro.
forget about him somehow.
There's just been so many great players come to Seattle from Japan. It's been a place where so many of them have thrived and had great careers.
Mm-hmm.
Iwakuma was a top 3 in the Cy Young. Kikuchi, it clicked at moments. I just think that
We saw flashes. We saw the first half of the 2021 season. We were like, yes, he's here. And then he went back to the 5-man rotation, and it was just too much for him.
Yeah, I just think the talent's there. It just hasn't been able to be put together. And maybe the fit.
I would like to see him do well somewhere else, but no, it's a perfect fit for him. I'd love to see him come to Seattle. It'd be awesome.
All right, Brad? Okay. What are you asking Baseball Santa for first?
Okay, as you said, in no particular order, the first thing that I'm going to put on my list for Baseball Santa is I just want a new CBA, Jewell. I just want a new CBA. I don't care what's in it. I don't care what isn't in it. I just want it to get done. Just get it done so there can be baseball. Because, like I said earlier, I'm a little more optimistic now than what I was even a week ago. Right? And so I feel like there's going to be a deal done, but that's just top of my list. Baseball Santa, please bring a new CBA. That's all I ask for.
All right. After that, what are you asking for?
The next thing on my list from Baseball Santa, I want. That's one of the most proud things that I've ever made. That of all my projects I've ever done in my life, I'm most proud of Baseball Santa graphic. For those of you not watching on YouTube, there's a fun graphic. Anyway, I want a healthy meniscus for Kyle Lewis.
Ooh, yeah.
Because that knee injury has been ugly and lingering since.
How about just 2 healthy knees for Kyle Lewis?
Oh man, I just want the meniscus, because we saw what a bad meniscus can do to a guy with Brandon Roy with the Blazers, right? Yeah. And I worry about that with Kyle Lewis. I know that it's not the same amount of punishment for a baseball player, especially for a guy who the DH is an option for, because he'd be a great DH. He would be an absolutely
amazing DH. He would be fantastic.
But I also want him in the outfield because he's a really good center fiilder.
Yeah, no, he's a great center fielder.
A really good center fielder. So and if he's got a healthy meniscus, we've got 10 more years of an outstanding center fielder who can field and hit.
And you know who else is a really good center fielder? Jared Kelenic.
He's not as good, though. I don't feel like he's as good, though.
He can play a mean center field, though.
I would rather have him. I'd rather have him in a corner, though.
No,
but I think you're right. Give him an entire offseason of getting used to center field, an entire spring training getting used to center field. I think he could be better than what he was last year.
I think he would be better at center than he does in left.
You think
so? He's out of position in left. He's out of position. His natural position is center. College, he was a center fielder. In Mets, he was a center fielder.
Yeah.
He's always been a center fielder, and then we moved him.
Well, it's funny because
that's been part of it.
I always thought he was so short. That's why I saw him as a left fielder. Like, the dude's 6'3".
Dude's huge.
He's enormous.
He's a big guy.
Short. I think it's because he's so stocky. But
he's so stocky.
He can fly. He's got the range. I was just always worried about him, like, seeing the ball off the bat at the big league level, and that was the issue that I had with him last year. But
and Kyle Lewis is 6'4".
Yes. And he chokes up on his bat. I don't understand that.
Because he's long
I don't know
arms.
why
He's got
the
to shorten
dude.
it up a little bit.
I don't know why that dude chokes up on his back because he's losing leverage on it. But
Yeah. And
anyway,
Kellen looks
all
only
right,
6'1".
Jewell. Oh, is he 6'1"? Either way,
Six one.
he's decently big. He's really stocky, and that's why I always felt like he was like 5'10". I always felt like he was
Makes
my
sense.
height until I looked it up. But anyway, all right, Jewell, what do you have next
All
for
right.
Baseball
My
Santa?
next wish for Baseball Santa is that Baseball Santa brings the Seattle Mariners a 2022 playoff spot, going into their All-Star hosting 2023 season, which then leads them to the 2023 World Series
Boom, and a title.
and a title.
I've been saying it, Jewell. I've been saying it. The Mariners in 2023, they're going to win it all. I don't even think
They
it's going
have
to take
to.
Baseball Santa for them to win it, but I think it
No.
helps. It certainly helps.
Baseball Santa might need to help them in 2022 make the playoffs so that they can get there at least.
Maybe, yeah. Just get in the door. Just get your foot in the door. I'm a firm believer of just getting your foot in the door in the playoffs,
Once they
especially
get
with
there,
the wild card. Like, just got to get there and make the appearance, and got to get that monkey off their back too. That's another thing. Is like I understand it's not the player, like the current players, it's not their drought, right? Mitch Haniger talked about that. Like it's not our drought, but we own the team, so we still own the drought.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I think having a guy like Robbie Ray, if they get into that wild card spot, tight pants and all.
He's got his tight pants on.
Yeah. All right. So my third
Excellent.
wish for Baseball Santa.
Okay, go ahead.
Now,
Let's do your
this
third one, then we'll take a break.
This one, you guys are gonna be a little bit surprised. You might be surprised. I want Baseball Santa, and this is kind of another 2023 wish. I want Baseball Santa to have these three teams win their divisions: the Mariners, the Tigers, and the Orioles in 2023 win at their respective divisions. They each have bukus amounts of young talent, mixed in with some veteran talent. Obviously, the Orioles are a little far off, but we've seen how quick a couple guys, a couple calls, guys like Cedric Mullins.
The problem is that I think I read a couple weeks ago that the Orioles were already shopping Cedric Mullins.
Oh yeah, they're shopping Cedric Mullins and John Means.
Like, what are you doing? That's the only thing that I don't. That's like the only reason I don't see them winning their division ever is because they have these top tier guys and they're already like, yeah, let's get rid of them, get more farmhands. Like, no, you don't need more guys. You don't need more prospects. You have your guys to build around.
They were one of the teams in this last year in spring training. They had like one of the highest amount of players in camp. Them, the Royals, and I think the Tigers were like three of the teams that had like, no joke, like 60, 70 dudes in camp. Like, it was insane how many guys they had.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's nuts. All right, let's take a quick break, and when we get back, we have a few more things for Baseball Santa to put on our lists.
No matter which ballpark you're at, you want to rep your team. Now you can with 9+ Us. Welcome to the Big City Series. With every design available in your team's colors, you can fit in with the home crowd or stand out on the road. Either way, we have the colors you crave. Shop the Big City Series and find designs that rep your favorite baseball podcast, cheer from the cheap seats, and much more. Shop the Big City Series only at 9plusus.com.
The Not Another Sports Podcast is the home of sports talk for everyone. Every other week, you can catch David and Jason as they talk about all things sports, from current events to classic moments and everything in between. You can find the Not Another Sports Podcast on Anchor.fm, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, and more. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review.
Welcome back, baseball family. We are doing our wish lists for Baseball Santa. Jewell has shared 3 items off of his list. I have shared 2. I have 3 more items. Do you have 2 more, Jewell?
I have 2 more.
Okay, I wasn't sure if we really talked about how many we had. So I think we had mentioned 5, but I don't think we set hard on 5. So here we go.
I don't think we did.
I have something here for Baseball Santa. This is a little bit against the grain. I'm going to be honest with you, Jewell. I want the Yankees to sign Carlos Correa for 13 years, $425 million. So badly. This is the deal that I want for Carlos Correa. You know why, Jewel?
I don't. Please.
Because it
Please tell me.
handcuffs the Yankees to Carlos Correa for almost a decade and a half. It pays him a whole lot of money. So they are right at that luxury threshold every single year. So they can
what's
pay
the
for
deal
guys
again? You said 425
$425 over 13.
over 13.
So give him
30
almost a Mike Trout deal.
32
That's what
million.
I'm saying.
I mean, that's not.
I think that's what he's looking for, to be honest with you. I think that's part of the reason he turned down that Tigers deal. I mean, I think the AJ Hinch thing makes sense, but I think he wants a whole boatload of money, and Scott Boras is going to try to get it for him.
I mean, if any agent can get it from the Yankees, I mean,
he can get it for a guy for a team it's bidding against itself. I mean, but no, I want him to get it. I want him to get it because it's going to handcuff the Yankees. They're going to be locked down to Carlos Correa for almost a decade and a half. They're going to be paying him a whole bunch of money.
Able to trade him.
Nobody's going to take that contract off their hands, and they're just dumb enough to do it.
They
honestly.
are. Cashman is dumb enough.
Like,
I mean, re-signing Aaron Boone.
The Mets maybe would do it, and but it wouldn't have as much of an impact on baseball. That I feel like the Yankees would be like, we need to make a splashy deal. This is the one we do. This is the one, and they get it done, and we're just like, that's fine. Like, you can have Correa wreak havoc on the AL East for the next 10 years. I'm fine.
But good luck having him single-handedly wreak havoc on a team that has, on the Boston Red Sox, you have some high-quality talent at multiple positions, or
you got the Blue Jays who are outstanding.
Immaculate talent all around.
Yes, exactly. And you've got Aaron Judge, who we talked about. Like they're going to pay him but the guy doesn't stay healthy. I like Aaron Judge a lot, but I just wish for his sake and for Briggs' sake that Aaron Judge would stay healthy. You got Stanton, who doesn't stay healthy, strikes out way too much. You got a lot of question marks on that pitching staff, besides Garrett Cole, obviously. But
yeah,
no, I don't think that it would necessarily be a good thing for them. But good for the dude if he gets the bag. I mean, that would be just.
I mean, yeah.
I would just blow my mind. It's something I would love to see. It would be fun. It'd be fun for baseball, that's for sure. It'd make good content.
I bet Briggs would love it.
I honestly, though, like as a Mariners fan, if he came to the Mariners for that, I'd be fine. Like we've got our shortstop or our third baseman, whoever, but at the same time, like the problem with the Yankees is they have enough money tied up in other guys that it would be a problem for them, is the thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's my against the grain baseball Santa wish.
I like it. What are you going with number 4? What's your 4th wish?
You go ahead. Go ahead with your 4th. Go ahead with your next
4. One. Okay, so this one is just kind of a feel-good wish that I just kind of want to see happen because I think it makes sense for, like, the landing spot. I think it makes sense for the player. I think it makes sense for the organization. And I think it makes sense for the pieces they have there. I want the Cardinals to re-sign Albert Pujols to a 1-year deal. Put the band back together. Put the band back together for one more season. Give them a run at the playoffs. Make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
This is a 2-part wish. He re-signs with the Cardinals and they make the playoffs.
There you go.
And it's just the silliest feel-good story of all time between Molina, Yachty, and Wainwright getting a chance to all go out together, and after the wild card round. Because theirs are not topping the Brewers with that pitching staff.
No.
No one's topping the Brewers with their pitching. It's impossible. They'll win games with pitching alone. But once they make that wild card, I mean, they're there. It's going to be like the biggest game ever. It's going to be great.
Like a movie.
Basically, no, it's like going to be a movie. It's like, oh, well, Pujols is back. They got Yachty, Wainwright.
Yeah.
They fought with a new manager and made the playoffs. And I don't know. I think it would the landing spot makes sense, and the feel good, the narrative. I think it all just is there for the Cardinals. You saw the ovation he got when he played for the
Yeah.
Dodgers, and he went
Mhm.
back there for the first time in forever.
Yep, you're right.
He's loved. They love him. They love their.
Yeah.
40,
I thought you were gonna say a 1-day contract so he could retire as a Cardinal. I was like, yeah, there you go. That's the spirit. But no, I think a 1-year deal does make sense for him with the Cardinals. Go out at home, because
Yeah,
that's where his legacy is. He's gonna go into the Hall of Fame as a Cardinal
yeah,
for sure, 100%.
Yep.
So I think it's a
Yep.
great one. All right, go ahead with your final one here, Jewel. You got one more?
My final one. Well, do you have 4 or do you have 5?
I'll go ahead with 4. I'll go ahead with my next one because I'm honestly like a little bit anxious to do this one. So this is kind of a follow-up to my third, right?
Okay.
So I talked about how I want Carlos Correa to go to the Yankees.
Mhm.
Well, one of the things I want him to do as a Yankee is to speak with the media and spill the beans on the entire sign stealing scandal, the whole thing, every last gory detail, and just burn it to the ground.
I think
That's what I
if
want him to
anyone
do.
does it, it's gonna be Correa.
Yep, because that dude loves to talk. He loves
He
the
loves
sound
to
of his
talk,
own
and he
voice.
loves the attention.
Mm-hmm.
And he would. I think the Yankees would probably not be opposed to him doing it because it
Vindicates
benefits
them. Yeah,
Vindicates them.
exactly.
It's like
It might be
haha,
part of
after
what
we got your guy and we exposed you.
exactly, and I feel like it would. I mean, he would have immediate cred in the clubhouse. They
Oh
would,
yeah.
for him to be the guy to be like, look, this is what happened. This is how we did it. These are the guys who did it. Yes, there was a buzzer involved, and these 4 guys wore them. Whatever, like, was I involved? Yes. Did I wear a buzzer? Yes. But so did all these other guys, right?
Yeah.
And all the Yankees would be like, thank you for finally being honest with us. Come
Yeah.
play with us. Let's go lose in the
I think
LDS.
yeah, and I think that's like the forgiveness and like the streak that he wants to take. Because he doesn't want to go play with the Tigers. He doesn't want to re-sign with Houston. He wants to be far, far away. I mean, New York puts him
No
on the
better
other
way to
side
get rid of that
the
stink
country.
than to get rid of it yourself.
Exactly. And no better way to like clear your name and look like the hero
Yeah, absolutely.
that put the true asterisk next to a World Series ring that you have one of.
Mm-hmm. And then he can go and he can try to win one valid, right? Win one clean.
Yeah, and I think with that roster he can win one with that team.
Yeah.
Like, I think that Yankees team wins one with Correa if he signs that Albatross contract.
Yeah, and I think it would probably have to be 2022 if they're going to do it.
Yeah, they'd have to go all in.
Yeah, but anyway, so that's my fourth. That's my 4th baseball Santa wish. What's your last baseball Santa wish? Or I guess your wish for baseball Santa.
My last wish for baseball Santa is for Bryce Harper and Christian Yelich to get some help. These are 2 top-level talents in the outfield. Like, these guys are up there with, they're not quite Mike Trout, but, Bryce Harper, top 5, 6, 7 player of the last decade. Easy.
He's a top 3 or 4 player in the NL every year.
Yeah, he's a top player in the NL, 2-time MVP, several seasons between his 2 MVPs. Christian Yelich, also an MVP, also got a big, huge money deal. Uber talented. Both these guys are just, honestly, you take all
Christian
3 of them.
Yelich doesn't need to get back to helping himself, though. I'll be honest with you.
He does. I agree.
I've been a little disappointed with his play because he has not been the guy we all saw and we all wanted him to be. Because I really like Christian Yelich. I want him to do well. I want him to be successful. But he's got to get back to himself before he can even ask for anybody to get any help from him, though.
And he just needs to stay healthy. Honestly, his thing is health.
That's true, and that's probably a big part of it.
He can't stay healthy. I mean, he played 117 games in 2021. Well, he played almost all of 2020, but 130, 147. Like, he's not playing full seasons because he's hurt.
Yeah.
So, But no, that's my last wish is to get Christian Yelich and Bryce Harper some help. Get these guys a legit number 2. Mike Trout's probably going to come back and have a great season with
I'm
Ohtani
sure
as
he
his
will.
number 2.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
That's
these guys
actually.
need.
Do you mind if I transition? Because that's a perfect transition
Yeah.
for my 5th one. Okay. So my 5th one, like I said, has to do with the Angels. And something that I want to happen with the Angels this year is I want the Angels to stink, just be so bad like they have been, right? Because pitching is an issue. But anyway, I want them to have a fire sale at the trade deadline because those guys on that team are so good. Trout, Ohtani, Rendon. Now you've got Noah Syndergaard, like we've talked about. What's that? Walsh.
Jared
Yes.
Walsh is a
Yeah.
stud.
And granted, like Noah Syndergaard has only pitched 2 innings in the last 2 years, right? I'm still a big fan of Noah Syndergaard.
Oh,
I
yeah.
would
I think
love
the
to have him
reputation
in
and
bullpen in Seattle.
Yeah, no, he would be great. And, 1-year deals kind of suggest that,
Prove
A,
it.
we're not sure about you, and B, if you prove it enough and we're not in it, then we can trade you and cut our losses.
Easily, yeah. He is an easy piece to trade. And honestly, if the Angels came out and they said, Mike Trout is available, you've got 29 teams lining up to give 3 of their best players for him. Because what his output is much higher than 99% of the league. So I'd be willing to trade anybody the Angels want for Mike Trout, to be honest with you. Same thing just about with Ohtani.
Yeah. Trout has 9 years left on his deal. He's only 30. Dude is only 30.
Yeah.
And to put this in context, at 30 years old, he has 10 years of MLB service. He's a 9-time All-Star and an 8-time Silver Slugger.
And how many MVPs does he have?
3
Like
MVPs.
he's been top 5. He's been top 5 every year, hasn't he? I mean, I'm sure he would have gotten MVP votes last year even without playing.
His rookie year, he was second. His second year, he was second. These are his finishes over his career: 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 4, 2, 1, 5. Then the injury-riddled 2021.
Yeah, like he's the type of guy who, if he's not winning it, he's close to winning it. And I would love to have a guy like that on my team.
Somehow he didn't win it in 2017. Somehow he didn't win a Silver Slugger in 2017. Probably because he only had 72 RBIs. But
I think he missed some time that year, didn't he?
He played in 114 games, so.
Yeah, he missed. Yeah, I feel like missing 30 games or whatever like that's going to be enough, especially in the outfield right now. Because Mookie Betts was still in the AL at that point, and so you've got him and yeah. But anyway, no, if the Angels have a fire sale, man, the Mariners need to line up. Who you got? Who do you want? Right?
From the Angels?
Yeah.
I want Ohtani.
Well, obviously, and I'm telling you, man, if they're like to the point where like, sorry, Mike Trout, it's not working out because we just can't figure out how to put together a winning team. Let's go ahead and let you go to somewhere that's going to win.
And that's what they need to do. Honestly, like that's like the right thing to do.
It is.
For a guy like Mike Trout.
I mean, this is the thing though, is they brought in Joe Madden because they're like, we want to win, right? Like the Angels have had a taste of that World Series. They won it in what was it, 2002? They won it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still pretty fresh. I mean, I get, it's getting to be 20 years, but 20 years here in Phoenix still felt pretty recent based on everything I saw. I mean, when I went to the stadium, they had exhibits and stuff like that from that season. It's like that stuff that still felt pretty fresh. As far as baseball goes, 20 years is not that big of a deal. So in Anaheim, that's still fresh. Like they still want to win and they still want to restore that spirit to the Angels. And so they brought in Joe Madden to help with it. The problem is that it feels like they just don't know how to put together a winning pitching staff, because that's the problem they've had for so many years. Those guys come up to Seattle and they just rake, but then they lose games because their pitching staff and their bullpen just gives up runs late in the game.
And they just paid a bunch of money to Raisel Iglesias.
Yes, they did.
A ton of money, which I mean is well justified. He's really, really, really good.
Yeah, but
And at
one
least you
guy
have
does not
someone
a
to.
pitching staff make.
No,
Right.
and he only pitches in the 9th inning when you have a lead.
Yeah, exactly. And if you have a bullpen that can't hold
Have
your
a
lead,
lead.
he's never going to get out there.
No.
So I don't know. I would like to see the Angels have a fire sale at the trade deadlines, just so that some of those guys can get out there and have a chance to win, and probably come to Seattle and win. Because it feels weird to say that, but all of a sudden I'm
Yeah,
like
no.
really
I
confident in
mean,
this team this year.
their team ERA, the Angels, was 4.69 with a 4.25 FIP. Like, you don't win a lot of games when you're averaging 4 runs a game.
Yeah,
You can't win. You can't.
even with that offense, like they have a pretty good offense. Even with that offense, they're not going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, I mean, even without Trout, you still have Ohtani, winning an MVP.
Rendon was hurt last year, but then you got Walsh, who stepped up and had a great year. Jared Walsh had an
Yeah.
outstanding year last year.
And now you put Ohtani, Trout, Walsh, and Rendon healthy on the field together.
Get that team pitching staff, and they could win the AL West.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it might be smart for the Angels. I'm pretty sure I talked about this last year, too, on my blog. It's just like, I think it's time to move Trout to the corner.
You think so?
I think it's time to move Trout to a corner just to help him stay healthy, give him less ground to cover, save his legs. Put Joe Adell in center field. You have Joe Adell.
Yeah.
Let him.
That's
let those
true.
young
And he's proven to
legs
be.
Run.
He's proven to be more of the player they thought he was going to be, because he had a terrible debut. Like, he was terrible in 2020, but he was good in 2021. So yeah, I could see him in center field. That's the thing. It's funny though, is like being down in the minor leagues, like the low minor leagues with the Angels. Like, we'd see these guys come up, and like some of them were really good. Some of the outfielders, it's like I would hate to be an outfielder, or at least a center fielder, in the Angels farm system right now, because you're just trade bait. But at the same time, that's a great point with Trout. If you move him to right field, you save those legs and take advantage of the arm, and then you have a younger guy out there playing center field. It could work. It could work out. Work out really well for him.
I think it's smart. And even with Trout being hurt last year, this is how bad the Angels were. Trout was hurt last year for majority of the year. It still was the Angels' 7th best player in terms of WAR.
He only played like 30-something games, right?
Yep, a 1.8 WAR, and that's how big of an impact Mike Trout has on this team.
I'm telling you, man.
It's insane.
Yeah, it is insane. But anyway, baseball family, if you want to share with us your baseball Santa wishes, drop in the mailbag. There's a link down in the description, or there's also a link on baseballtogether.com up in the navigation. Just click the link and then fill out the form. It'll send us an email, and we'll share some of your baseball Santa wishes on the podcast as well, if you would like. Or let us know what you think about our wishes. Am I too far against the grain here, wanting the Yankees to give all the money to Carlos Correa? Or is that reasonable? I don't know. Let us know. But also, while you're online, don't forget to hop on the shop at 9plusus.com, NINEPLUSUS.com. It is a little late at this point to get your stuff for Christmas. I do apologize. However, you can always start the new year with a new wardrobe. New year, new you, right?
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying. So hop on 9plusus.com. Get yourself something nice tonight. I have my Korean baseball, my KBO nod with the NC Dinos nod. And then I've also got my Baseball Together sweatshirt going tonight. So, like I said, hop on there and get yourself a nice new shirt for the new year. Jewell, thanks again for filling in for me. I really appreciate you.
Of course. And of course, baseball family, when you're done buying all the great merch, when you're done checking out the podcast, while you're listening to the podcast, now that you're done with it, go over to theballboyblog.com, check it out, read some stuff. I've been talking CBA, kind of a nice refresh of the content, some, focus branding with some of my partners. And it's been a lot of fun. So we got a lot of great pieces coming out. We're going to start kind of doing some fresh outlooks here, probably with the new year, some fresh outlooks for each division. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Got a lot of fun content coming.
Very cool. Excellent. Look forward to it. Jewell does a great job on the ballboyblog.com. So go check it out. But baseball family, thank you again for joining us for Baseball Santa this year. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and we will catch you next week.